It's running.
Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at how to hold defensive choke points. So after you and your team have battled tooth and nail for an objective and still lose it to the enemies, you and your team will have to fall back and try to defend against the enemies pushing the payload until the next objective. On its path, the payload will pass a few narrow areas or tighter areas which leave enemies vulnerable, and these areas are known as choke points. The choke point is an area in the map which forces enemies to pass through it in order to push the payload to its objective. It is usually much narrower than all the other points in the map and therefore greatly reduces the combat power of the enemies, but also puts your team at risk as it acts as a funnel for damage. So here are a few tips on how to hold these defensive points much more effectively. The first tip is trying to hold multiple angles. This means not only looking down and defending the main route that the payload actually takes, but also keeping an eye out on the flanking routes that the enemies could possibly take to try and get into your backline and harass you. The next tip is not chasing any kills or putting yourself in any unnecessary danger which could lead to you dying. As let's say for example, if a front line is holding one of the flanks off from the enemies and he actually decides to chase a kill and gets jumped on by all the enemies and dies, the enemies will actually be able to use that flank that he was holding to get into your backline and actually just destroy your team and break the choke. They'll be able to push right through that choke and push the payload even further. The next one is positioning yourself in such a way that you have maximum visibility while still having an adequate escape in case the enemies decide to unleash a barrage of damage onto your team. This tip is especially true for damage champions, as this will allow them to do some high poke which might just keep the enemies at bay and just, dissuade them from trying to push. The fourth tip is don't put yourself in such a position that you take unnecessary damage, as your support will be working overtime as your entire team will be spread out on different flanks, and some of them will be in the center, other ones will be on the right flank, and others will be watching your back. So basically you don't want to put yourself in any position that will make you take unnecessary damage, as your support might not be able to heal you as they'll be trying to heal someone else that is probably getting overwhelmed by the enemies. The next one is a really big tip. That's what she said. Okay, the next one is a really big tip. Let's say you're playing Shaolin and you're holding an angle or a flank really well, and you see the enemies just group up and decide they're gonna rush through that area. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna try to stay there and fight them? No, that'll be the worst decision ever. What you want to do is fall back and inform your team as to what's happening. Your front lines should rush to your aid, and actually they should come in such a manner that they're still able to protect the other angles while still being able to defend the angle or the flank that the enemies are coming through. If you're playing the flanker in this scenario, what you don't want to do is go to where your front lines are going to. You want to actually go around and keep an eye out on the other flanks, because obviously the other sides will be open and the enemy flank might actually try to, take a different route. If you do not see any enemy flanks, what you want to do is try and pick off the stray enemies that are just, chilling on their own and moving around. Let's say the enemy support, he's just chilling on his own and waiting for his team to do whatever they want to, and your team is able to damage them and they start falling back. Your flank should be ready to take them out, as this will just give you more time and more space to think about what you're going to do next. This tip is also a major one. Don't tank stack. That is very bad. Stacking is very bad, because if you stack in a choke, you are free to damage. Like, let's say you're playing on something like ice mines and the enemies are about to push it, from the objective. There's a curve and you'll see it in the diagram that I'm going to show you. The enemies are about to push it through there and all your front lines are just standing there. Your damage is right behind them and your support behind in the total back. Now imagine if they have a Drogos or just someone with like Moji, and it's a funnel of damage. You're all gonna get damaged for no reason whatsoever. So what you want to try and do is you want to have one front line over there, another front line holding a different angle, and then you want to have the damages positioned in such a way that they do not get unnecessary damage, and also the supports in such a way that also they can heal while not taking damage. The next tip is to not all stand in one choke as a team and expect the enemy to just come down the main route that the payload moves through. Most of the times in lower levels, this is what all the teams will do. They'll just not even group up, they'll come in one by one, go down the main choke, the main route that the payload takes, and get picked off. But the higher up you move into the levels or into the tiers, the more intelligent and creative and tactical that the enemies become. They decide to take flanks. So if you're all just grouped up in one choke and you're like, oh yeah, we're grouped up, we're nice and tight, no one can penetrate this, okay? So one flanker just goes around in the front line with him. They're gonna destroy you from behind, you're gonna get raped from the front, you're gonna get destroyed, and the chokehold's gonna be broken. Which means that you're just giving the enemy team an extra advantage as they get to push it further. The final tip on this list is dealing with flankers. Enemy flankers, they try to come around while you're holding a choke. So if an enemy flanker comes around, what you want to do is deal with them as fast as possible, but not your entire team should focus on them. By this I mean that, let's say you're playing Shaolin, you hear a mave come behind you guys. So now you're all busy defending, everyone's really busy as the enemies are trying to distract you by using the mave in the back. So as Shaolin, you want to turn around and actually try to pick her off. You don't want to have your entire team turn around and try to focus her down, as this will just leave you vulnerable to attacks from the other side. I really want to thank Pirituk for giving me the ideas for this video, and actually the tips that I mentioned in this video were actually provided by him. If you want to meet a really good coach, I suggest you go to Pirituk. You can find him on Discord, and his name will be posted down below in the description. He's one of the greatest coaches out there, trust me. And don't forget, if you want to join an active, large, and friendly gaming community that is found on almost all social platforms and social networks, what you want to join is Gaming Until End. Links are in the description below, and I hope to see you there. I want to thank you guys all for watching this video. I hope you found it useful and interesting and informative, and I hope that this will actually increase your chances of winning and holding choke points. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like down below, comment and subscribe to my channel.